Love and hate. Love and hate, everybody. Good morning. So, we're talking about love and hate this morning. So, thank you to all those who are just joining us. We're talking about love and hate. And I just want to know, I just want to know how many of us have ever been there where you love someone at the same time, but you think you hate them. How does that work? I just want to know because it seems to me that we have a real issue going on with in relationships. I mean, we can never talk about relationships now. People are always going through stuff. Stuff is always going on, and sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we don't have a choice. Right? We've all been there. I must say, we've all been there. Life is not perfect, and we've all had issues. Right? So today I want to talk about love and hate, and I'm doing it because it's kind of like a segue, a follow up to yesterday's program, where we talked about why do we take back cheating partners? Why do women take back cheating partners? And why do women especially? We learned some interesting things from our male audience who joined in and who chimed in. They just had a lot to say, right? I expect that they will join in later today, right? And if they do, they do. If they don't, okay. But you are here, and that's what matters. You're here, and that's what matters. So today I wanted to talk about love and hate because after yesterday's show, it kept going through my mind that the reason that perhaps morning, how you doing? That we perhaps take back cheating partners is love and hate. So I wanted to talk about love and talk about hate. And do you think you can love someone and hate them at the same time? Is that possible? Do you think so? I want to see what you all have to say. I want to see what everybody have to say, right? Is it possible that you can love someone and hate them all at the same time? Because it's interesting. So as I was watching the news, how many of us watch the news? How many people do? I do. I have a boo-boo. Look at my sweater, right? My sweater has a hole in it, probably from coming out of my car and rushing like everything else. You're just running out of the car and you rush and you hit it. And this is my favorite sweater of all the sweaters that I wear. I don't like sweater per se. I like when they look like a shrug. So they look like a sweater, but they have a fit to it. This is so, oh God, this is at least 10 years old. I love this sweater. I love the color. It's so warm. It's so comfortable. Oh, no, I have to really park it. I'm not going to park it. I'm going to wear it around the house. But so I wanted to talk about love and hate. But you know what interested me yesterday, as I was watching the news, the story about Jussie Smollett kept going. Oh, I wish it would stop. Don't you? I wish it would stop. It doesn't seem to stop. And he was talking about he hasn't issued a statement yet, but his family, right? His lawyers. He has an excellent legal team. Can I just say that? He has a really good legal team, and I think we all should have a legal team like Jussie Smollett. I really feel like that. Don't you think so? Because he has the most interesting conversation going on with his legal team. They say that there is a presumption of innocence that he never benefited from. Interesting like crazy. And they say that because he never benefited from a presumption of innocence, then he really shouldn't be charged with 16 felony counts. But here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, I thought 16 felony counts were excessive. Didn't you? You all thought so. He needed to learn his lesson. You can't lie. And especially in today's day and age, you certainly can't lie about something like a hate crime. Come on. There are people who experience actual hate crimes, and we want to save the conversation and the validity for when those situations happen. So I agree that he should pay the price, but I don't know that he should. I don't know that he should. 16 counts was a bit excessive. So I thought if I didn't even imagine they would ever drop the charges. I didn't think that was a possibility, but apparently it is a possibility. So they dropped all 16 charges. The prosecutor, well, you know how it works. The prosecutor is who files the charges. The police creates the case, investigates, and then the police present the case to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor charges creates a charge. So all 16 charges have gone. Well, the thing about it is that now that all 16 charges have gone, the problem is that now that they've all gone, people are like, well, what are we gonna do now? You know what I mean? Now that all 16 charges is creating this whole mess, the mayor of New York is saying, the mayor of Chicago is saying, well, he should pay for this. He should pay for this. He should write a check for $130,000. And I was like, that's all it costs you guys? $130,000 to look at this? I don't know. I am just like I'm just as mad as the rest of us. And I think something should happen, right? And I think that people need to figure out, in the first place, a climate, an environment is created to make something like what he does proliferate. That should never have happened, right? Something like what he does proliferates because of who he is, right? And I think that's where the problem is. That's really where the problem is, because something like what he does, the environment, the racial climate exists that causes something for him to think that he could actually plan and execute something like that is unbelievable. It's going to be interesting how that pans out. But like everything else, you're rich and powerful, you are going to get the best attorneys. And if you get to jail, if you really do get to jail, chances are you will spend the minimum time or no time. His case is certainly teaching us that. So I think the rest of us need to get powerful and rich enough so that we can do what? We can hire the best attorneys, right? Right. That's what I think. I think that's what we should focus on, right? Right. So that was just one thing that was streaming. And then the other thing that caught my attention was I was watching anybody watches 48 Hours on a Friday night? Every now and then on a Friday night, I either watch 2020 or 48 Hours or something like that, right? And this case caught my attention. It's about an Army colonel who was killed in Iraq, but he wasn't killed in how shall I say it? He wasn't killed in war. He was killed in not in combat, but he was killed in something else. He was killed while he was asleep. So apparently he wrote a suicide note and sent it to his wife. This is on 48 Hours tonight. He sent it to his wife a few nights before, the night before, and then the next day he was found dead. She says, the wife is saying, the problem with that is that her husband uses his right hand, and the bullet entered his temple from the left. So if you're right-handed and you're gonna shoot, if you're gonna shoot yourself, you're gonna use the hand you're most comfortable with, right? And in his case, it would be his right hand. So his wife is severely disputing that, and she thinks she's going to go and get. So it's on 48 Hours because the Army. Anybody watches NCIS, right? Well, NCIS is a real agency. I thought it was fictitious and it was just made up to make the TV show. Well, apparently NCIS is real, and NCIS investigated the case, and of course they didn't find anything wrong. So they didn't find anything wrong, just like that. So for them, it was gone. So the wife ordered. She got the investigators to look at it a second time, and she thinks that there is a real case for what she believes. It's just amazing. So people are saying, well, are you not accepting the truth? Or are you denying the fact that maybe something happened? Who knows? Who knows really what it is, right? Who knows really what it is? So sometimes maybe we don't want to accept the realities, right? We don't want to accept that these things happen for whatever reason, but stuff happens, right? So today I wanted to talk about love and hate. Time is going, so I don't want to hold you too long. But yesterday, in our conversations about why do women take back cheating partners, one of our viewers said that women are more forgiving, right? And he said men don't take back cheating partners. Men just don't. It's a thing men just don't. Okay. But women are more forgiving. And because women are more forgiving, we don't want to be alone. That was another criticism. So this made me start to ask, do you take back a cheating partner because you love him, but at the same time you hate him? What do you guys think about that? Because I find it interesting that we are living in a day and time when we love someone. It is possible to love someone, but you don't always like what they do, right? It is possible to love someone, but they commit actions that you hate. You see where I'm coming from? It is entirely possible. And these things do happen, okay? So don't worry about it. Don't question it. Don't, when it happens, it just happens. Especially when you've been with someone for some time. And let's face it, as people do the craziest things at the craziest times. People will do something that will absolutely drive you nuts. People will do things that will make you go absolutely crazy, okay? Especially someone you love, because the person whom you love, they have the key to your heart, don't they? Yes, they do. They have the key to your heart, and they have the button that turns you. So you're malleable. They can pivot you. They can turn your emotions on and off. And sometimes you fall in it. I have found that love is a funny thing. Love is, you have no control over it. You have no control over who you love. That's cool, right? You have no control over that. If we did, you wouldn't find people who love people just randomly, right? So you have seemingly no control over who you love. And because of that, that's why it's love. It's uncontrolled. So you love someone, but you don't always like what they do. But I feel that even when you love someone, there has to come a point where you draw the line. There is a point at which you draw the line where you say, I can't go any further. I can't do this anymore. Right? There has to come that point. You have to be able to say, I can't do this anymore. I can't go any further. There must, because there has to be some element of self-preservation for yourself. Now, the thing with love is when you truly love someone, you find that you go above and beyond. You just keep going and going. They hurt you and you keep going. And some people say, well, you're stupid. You're just letting him or her take advantage of you. What you have found is that that person really loves someone and they can't control how they feel, right? So they might say, I don't want to be there. I don't want to, I don't want to be there, but there is nothing that you really can do about it. You see what I'm saying? And it's not a comfortable place to be. Love is, let me just preface it by saying love is a funny thing. And when by saying that, I mean that because of its nature, love comes, it's like a body of feelings, and it comes with forgiveness and it comes with all that stuff. And then what happens is you find you can't do much about how you feel about the person. You don't believe me? Try your children. You love them, right? You love your children. You realize that you love your children in spite of what they do. They don't always do what you want. They don't always comply. They're not always obedient, right? They miss the mark, but you still, at the end of the day, what do? You still love them. It's the same thing when you love a partner. You love them and you continue to do what it takes. Sometimes you become so committed to the relationship that you're committed to it, so you stay in it. But what happens when love becomes hate? And you find that after a while, you can't take any of the stuff that that person has done to you. And now you hate them. What do you do? That's the crux of the matter. Because I have found that when love becomes hate, all stuff goes loose. Everything is out the door. People start killing each other. That's when people kill each other. That's when people hate each other. That's when the scratches and the slashing of the tires and all that kind of crazy stuff happens. So, as far as I'm concerned, if you love someone, there is a part of you that is going to exercise some element of discipline, right? Discipline over yourself, that no matter how crazy it gets, I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to stoop that low. But when someone hurts you, if they tell you they love you, my thing is this, right? My thing is this. Somebody is commenting, ain't that the truth? It is what it is, right? But my thing is this. If you love someone, guess what? You're not going to hurt them. That's just how I feel. Sometimes I think what we think is love is not love. Because when you love someone, you're not going to hurt them, at least not deliberately. This is where that cheating thing comes in. If you love someone, you're not going to cheat on them because you know it's going to hurt them, right? Unless you have an understanding in the relationship that at some point in some marriages and some long-term relationships, people have an understanding that you go your way, but we're still together. So whatever you do, you hide it, you don't show it, right? And you don't let it become a problem. People do that, right? But at the end of the day, they love one another. And I'm beginning to think that what is missing from, and honestly, to be honest with you folks, people do what is expedient for them in relationships. People do whatever is required, right? People do what is expedient for them. People do whatever they have to do. People do whatever they're going to do, right? And so what happens is people choose to do what they're going to do. It's amazing to me how someone tells you they love you, but yet they hurt you. How does that happen? That's that love and hate thing. It's kind of diabolical, isn't it? It's crazy how that sort of thing happens. Because how do you love someone but you hate them at the same time? So you really need to examine, what do you like about the person? Why do you say you love them? When I discovered that I loved someone, I had to find out what this is. So I discovered that it was similar to the feeling that I have for my children, where yeah, they do crazy things, but you get on with it, you instruct, you guide, and you get on with it. Well, what do you do when it's your partner? What do? You literally sit there like, I know you're not going to do that again. And you're like, please, dear God, don't let them do it again. Please, dear God, I don't know what I would do. And sometimes to test the love, it happens over and over and over. It's trying to get you used to it. Now, frankly, if someone loves you, and let's use cheating as an example, they're not going to do it again if they love you. Some people have a pattern where they're caught up in this vortex where they're so accustomed in relationships to do whatever they do because no one has ever held them accountable. You might run into a situation like that. But after a while, it's going to stop because the person loves you. They've come to the place where they recognize that you are not comfortable with the attitude or the action. You see where I'm coming from? So we're examining love, right? So let's say you live together, right? Well, one of the things that is common in relationships when you live together is that you use the same bathroom. So you use the bathroom and you leave it up, but your partner detests that. It causes arguments because you're like, dang, you never do this. No, 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 no. So after a while, the person is going to make an effort to not leave the toilet seat up because it annoys you, right? That's just the simplest thing. But have you been in divorce court? You'll be surprised at the things that people talk about that causes their marriages to go crazy, to cause their relationships. Let me read what you're saying. It was just this morning, my cousins and I were on this topic. Thank you, my lovely, for this. I just sent them an invite. You are a blessing to us with your words of wisdom. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. But I want to talk about it because in the news today, I see so many instances of people killing one another when they have had a relationship, where a relationship existed. And it's beginning to become apparent to some of us that the dynamics in our relationships are wrong. sometimes what we refer to love is not love. And I'm saying that with all brevity. I'm not saying you should go and tell your partner, I don't really love you because Harriet says based on what she thinks I don't love you. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is examine if you really love someone. You know how you ask yourself this question. If I were never to see this person again, what would I feel like? Ask yourself that question. That is one of the questions to determine if you love someone. If you find it literally is true that you can't live without the person, if the thought of being without the person leaves you feeling like I'm going to have to take a breath, that is someone whom you perhaps really love. Sometimes what we call love is not love, right? And sometimes we marry people thinking we love them, but we really don't. Or we get into relationships because you might like something about the person. You might like the fact that they're a good provider. You might like the fact that they're attractive. You might like the fact that they keep their stuff going. They attend to the activities of their lives. You might like that they perform in a particular profession. That's another thing that I'm going to suggest that you not do. Don't fall in love with someone because he's an engineer or a doctor, right? Oh, yes, I went to Mount Alvernia High School. Why do you say that? That I truly am an Alvernian? Because some people, years ago, you know why I said that? Years ago, I had the distinct honor of being friendly with a person, right? He was an engineer and his wife was a dentist. And their marriage was falling apart. Their relationship was practically non-existent. He traveled a lot. He was never at home. And after a while, I said, this is why you're not facing up to what you need to face up to. That's why you're never at home. And when I asked what was going on in their relationship, I said, well, why did you marry her? Did you love her? And he said, I think so. I said, but really, did you really? And it was something he said that clued me in. He said, well, she's a dentist. What's there not to love? I said, that's your problem right there. You married her for her profession. Did you marry her because you loved her? Or did you marry her because she's a dentist, you're an engineer, and you combined with your combined income, you thought you would live a good life? But you didn't think about what happens when you're in the house with the person and you literally have to live with the person day after day. Do you see? That's where the hate comes in. When people say, I love him, but I hate him. You know what they're really saying? I hate him. I can't stand him. And if you can't stand them, you can't live with them, because you can't love them either. Because here's the thing. We focus, it's like these folks who have these huge weddings. Is that annoying anybody? Is it only me? Right? People have these huge weddings. I mean, they paid $35,000 on a wedding, y'all, and then get divorced 2 or 3 years later. I think it's time for us to start asking for our money back and our gifts back. Like, seriously. And what happens is they got married because they liked something about someone. You can't marry because you like something about someone. This is a long-term thing. I think people do people still go to premarital counseling? I don't think so. When you go to premarital counseling, they ask you questions. I call it the marriage contract, right? They ask you questions about who you are, what you want to do, what do you believe? For instance, you've had children before. Are you against having children? Are you against the children from a previous relationship? They ask you questions like, have you filed for bankruptcy? What's your credit score? Do you have debt? I heard of one situation once where a woman, apparently she was so in love, or she was either desperate to marry. She married this guy not knowing he owed the IRS. He owed taxes on his house. He had over $7,000 in water bills on his house. I couldn't believe that. I don't even know how Detroit water back in this was like about 7 years ago. You could accrue $7,000 worth of water bills. And he owed the IRS $18,000. So when it was time to file taxes after they got married, she was probably looking forward to a big return. When, guess what happened? Guess. Zilch. The IRS took all the money. That's when she found out. So I was like, did you never ask these questions before? Right? Because then you get married and then stuff starts happening and people are like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? You don't want to find that out. Ask questions about people's health. Are you healthy? Go to the doctor with them for a checkup. I know of one guy who married someone and he didn't go through with it. No, she didn't have AIDS. She just had a long-term illness that was life-threatening. It wasn't just diabetes. She had a long-term illness. She had a kidney disease, which meant that her longevity was what? Short-lived, that it would only be a short time before she was on dialysis. He was angry. That guy turned into the biggest advocate for like asking people questions before you get married. And I remember thinking, well, did you never ask these kinds of questions? Do people not talk to each other? Do you not ask? I mean, you don't even have to. There was one guy I know of a few years ago who had people have issues. I can't talk about him because he probably watches, he'd go crazy, right? But suffice it to say this, that you can't go out and try to date people knowing that your longevity is compromised. So you know that you have a long-term illness that perhaps could hurt you. Don't try to look for someone to marry or to be with and then not tell people up front. Give people an option. It's just like people who have sexually transmitted diseases. I know. They don't tell you. They don't tell you they're HIV and they tell you that, oh, well, it's my privacy. Is it your privacy when you were asking to date someone? Right? And this is where, so you fall in love with them. And then now you hate people who are married but are separated, right? That's another big issue. They're separated. They're not quite divorced yet. But when you ask them, they say they're not married. They don't tell you they're divorced. They tell you they're not married. So you assume they're divorced when the conversation comes up, right? And then you find out that they really are not. I know of a story that took place some years ago. I mean, I have stories all over the place. People don't realize this, right? But this girl was living with this guy and she tried they were supposed to get married, but he kept putting it off. Why are we getting married? We live together. Everything is all right. Well, he had a heart attack, dropped dead of a heart attack. Like it wasn't an illness that she had time to prepare for. He dropped dead of a heart attack, y'all. And when he dropped dead of the heart attack, guess who showed up? The wife. Get out of my house. It's my house. He never had filed for divorce. They lived together for 4 years and he never filed for divorce. In the midst of his death, the woman told her she had until the day of the funeral to leave. So while they were at the funeral, which she went to for closure, she had to do what? She had to pack up and move. He's married, so anything he owns becomes community property, the title. So she put some money into the house. They bought furniture together, all that stuff. The woman said, you can take all the furniture you want, but it's my house. Get out of my house. And that the wife ended up getting the pension and, the usual stuff, go down to where he worked, go down and get all the insurance and all that kind of stuff. Love and hate. She was so in love with him. It turned into hate. And then you see other stories where people love one another and then they break up and someone gets so mad that they kill someone else. And I'm like, how does that even happen? That's my thing. How do you go from loving someone to where you hate them so much you'll kill them? And some of you are looking at me like you've never really experienced deep love. Yeah, I don't know I would kill him, but I know of a guy who the wife lied to so that she could have children, knowing very well she did something stupid in the past. Now they are more than 5 years in their marriage and it's not the best. The husband is so devastated. That sounds like a movie. That sounds like a movie, Karen. You need to tell me the outcome of that one. That sounds like a movie. It's kind of like where life imitates art. Isn't it funny how life imitates art, because you see these made up stories and then real life happens after that. But it's the truth. It is the truth. The way we live our lives. Sometimes we engage with people whom there's something going off in your gut that's telling you it's not okay, right? Something is going off saying it's not okay. You should never do this. You should never be with this person. And yet we continue to do it to the detriment of ourselves and others. And sometimes, as women, we involve our children in it. There are people out there who specialize and look for women with children so they can have access to the children. There are women who look for men with money and who are lonely and who just got out of a divorce and who have grown children, right? And they know how to get to them and they marry them so they can get their money and then kill them off. They poison them off. And within 2 to 3 years, he dies of a heart attack or something, that she can get rid of him just so she can get the money. You think Lifetime just makes up these stories? They're usually based off a true story, but they're not going to give you the exact details about it, right? That's love and hate. People can friends. People can fake love. They do it all the time. Someone comes into your life, they want to be with you for whatever reason, whether you have financial stability or whether you're attractive, whether you're famous, not so famous, but you have something they want. People will fake love. It's the easiest thing to fake. That's why the songwriter says it's a thin line between love and hate. Because the same degree and intensity with which you love someone is the same degree and intensity when it becomes hate. Right? Isn't that the craziest thing? It's so sad. And what happens is we allow ourselves to go through these things. We allow these things to happen where we come into these situations and then we wonder why things happen the way they do. And frankly, I don't know that there is any way in which you can take this down. I don't know. I don't know, because I think people are sometimes we're looking for stuff that we look for love in the wrong places. Has that ever happened to anyone? I mean, you look for love in places where it doesn't exist for you or it can't exist for you, right? We look for love from people who have no capacity to love us. That's the worst one. You love someone who does not have the capacity to love you. They can never experience love. Is it really love? Yes, because there's something about that person whom you like. There's something about that person whom you love. But they cannot return the love. It's not that they don't love you. They probably do care for you. But what happens is they can't return the love you have for them with the same degree and with the same intensity. It tells you that they're not fulfilling your needs, because your need is to be loved the way you need to be loved, right? And the way you need to be loved is different from someone else's way that they need to be loved. I know I just said something right there that's probably shocking to people, but it is true, right? When love becomes hate, love and hate are intertwined. They're the same, they're practically the same emotion because they come with passion and intensity. Sometimes people love someone and sometimes you hate the person with the same degree of intensity. Have you ever been in an argument with your partner? What do you say? I love you. I love you. I hate you. I can't believe you did this to me. The same degree of intensity. And because of that, it's almost as if we've crossed the line. That when you love someone and then they hurt you, the line has been crossed. And I'm saying it because we're human. That's my first thing. We're all human, right? And we've all been there. We've all been hurt by someone whom we loved, who took advantage of our feelings and ran to town with it. I mean, they didn't care one way or another if they loved us or if they didn't, right? To them, it was all about what? It was all about them. Have you ever been in a situation like that where you love someone, but you found out that they don't love you and that their only feeling for you comes from how they feel, right? Isn't that something? That is just the craziest thing. And so what I want to find out from you is, how do you feel about that? How do you feel when someone you love loves you, but they hate you? They do horrible things to you. How do you feel? How does that make you feel? Horrible. Here you are over here telling everybody about this person. All right? And what does this person do? They hurt you, right? And so what you find is that people sometimes don't know why they do what they do. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, right? And it's amazing to me because when you examine the spectrum of human emotions and what causes people to do what they do, what causes people to be who they are, it's just amazing, right? Because people sometimes, nobody wants to say, well, this happened because so and so, right? Nobody really wants to say that. Everybody is like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how this happened. And I just want to say that stuff just gets out of hand. It's the craziest thing to me because people don't always speak the truth. I know this is true because I've been there, right? It's like a woman meeting a man and he's married. That's the worst one, right? You meet this man and he's married and he hasn't told you that he's married. But yet he tells you that he loves you, doesn't he? And he's going to try to prove to you that he loves you. But why didn't you tell me you were married? Happens all the time. Ladies, I say this. If you've never been to their house or you can't go to their house, there's something they're hiding. Okay? If you haven't been to their house, something is wrong. If you can't go to their house, right? And it's just like, and some of these relationships take place with people living in another state. Have you ever heard such crazy stuff? Like people have these things going on where they live in another state and they don't do anything, right? They don't go anywhere. They can't do anything. They tend to just be with other people. I am just saying love and hate are two intertwined emotions that we all need to be a little bit more careful of, right? Because the fact of the matter is that people, as human beings, I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties with Facebook. So if you miss seeing me, I had to restart on another device. Facebook, for whatever reason, doesn't like me. Right? But a lot of what happens in our relationships, Kiran, is because we're not as tuned in as we should be. And frankly, guys, can I just be honest with you? How difficult is that? How difficult is that? And how do these things happen? And you're looking at me like, girl, you don't know. Yes, I do know. I'm human. I've been there. I've seen enough. I've seen a lot. I've seen enough. And I've heard people talk about stuff. Have you ever gone out with someone and they start telling you they love you, and this is you looking at them like, here it comes. Here it comes. In the same way, people who have a lot to lose, right? Or in another country. How about that? And then they get on a plane and you believe that they're having a relationship with you. You've never seen. Like I said, Lifetime is not making up these stories. There is a reason these things are happening to people. Okay? So you want to make sure that what you do when someone tells you, or when you find that you love someone, sometimes it's the scariest thing, especially as you mature, because you've been there before where someone left you while they loved you, or they told you they loved you, but they hurt you in some way. And then you find yourself loving someone So you're hesitant. It's the reason why so many of us don't enter into relationships, because we don't want to be hurt, because we know that people are not often true to their word, especially when it comes to relationships, right? People will tell you, no, I'm not seeing anyone, and they have 4 or 5 different people. First of all, if their phone is ringing while you're in the room and they have to step outside to answer the phone, something is up, right? If they receive a text message while you're with them and they have to hide it, something is up. They're hiding something. I'm just telling you the truth. Or they're not saying, pass me my phone, or can you give my phone to me? You know what I mean? So that tells you that something is wrong. And oftentimes by this time you're in too deep already. You feel like you're wading in waters, and you don't know what to do. Love and hate, right? It's really a thin line between love and hate. It really and truly is a thin line between love and hate. And that's what I feel, that is the conundrum, and that's the problem. It's such a thin line that we often don't know where to hit off, where to get off, and what to do, right? And it's especially painful, isn't it? Isn't love? The poets and the writers and the movie, they make it sound like love is so hunky dory. Okay, alrighty, alrighty. Love is so no, love is not. Love is painful because you have to accept that you love this person, and it's a risk you're taking, that you have to believe that this person is going to actually be there for you, right? And so you find that you have to recognize that there are some things, this is a variable that you have no control over. And so you have to do exactly what is required to do. It's the craziest thing ever. Love and hate. And or they don't answer the phone, right? They send the call to voicemail because they can't answer it because you're in the room. And that would tell you what is going on. Right? They can't answer the phone because then that is going to be very revealing, because they're lying. But you don't have to worry about that, because the same love that you felt for them, that will take you through the storm. Do you hear me? That same love will take you through it. That same love will make you make up in your mind whether this is a good place for me to be. And the more it tries to keep you there, and the more you realize it's not a good place for you to be, you will find the strength to walk away from it. And that's when it becomes hate. You hate the person. You hate their existence. You might even find that you hate parts of yourself that loved that person. And it's a process to get out from under it. And that's why many people don't engage in commitments and committed relationships, because they don't want to be bogged down in that. Nobody wants to experience the negatives that come out of it. And I can't say that I blame anyone, right? So how do we reconcile our feelings about love and hate? I like to put it like this. When you come to the place of acceptance that this is an emotion, or this is a way that I feel about this person, and that I have no control over it, I feel that is the place where you accept it. You just accept it. Acceptance is the easiest thing, because when you accept it, you'll be able to think it through, right? When you come to that place where you recognize and accept, this is a way I feel about someone, and it's going to go the way it should go. And that there's nothing that I can't stop it. But what you can do is pray your way through it. You can ask for help. You can talk, focus on something else. Go to work, focus on a project after work, focus on doing something else, and try not to think about it. When the thoughts come, say good things about it. Say, okay, I know I felt this way about him, and say good things and take your mind somewhere else. You work your way through it, because there are people who are not deserving of your love for them. And there are some people who don't have the capacity to receive love. And love doesn't choose whom you love, right? To the point where you can love and trust anymore. That's right, right? Love doesn't choose whom you love. So you don't get a chance to choose whom you love. It just happens. You don't get a chance to say, wow, I wish it was someone else, right? Interesting thoughts. Yeah, It's interesting. And the truth is, Celia, we perhaps don't spend a lot of time. Isn't it true, my friends? We don't spend a lot of time thinking about it because it happens and we fall. You know, they say we fall in love. It happens and we fall. Friends, if you're on Facebook, it's possible that you are probably going to lose me again, right? So if you are on Facebook, just head over to YouTube or Twitter, because Facebook stuff is popping up on that. I don't even know if you're seeing me anymore, right? What? I don't know how this happened. I'm talking to my folks back here. I don't know what happened. I really don't know, but it is what it is, right? And we are required as people, especially as we mature. Now, when we're young, it's all puppy love. You know why it's puppy love? Guess, right? Oh, Nicole Denson. Oh, hi, Nicole. I have been looking for you too. I text you and you didn't answer me. Text me. My number hasn't changed, right? But what happens is I have seen people, right? It is not uncommon for us to fall. Well, this, my grandmother used to say, well, the same way you fall in, you can fall out. And my thing was, clearly you never loved anyone, right? When you're young, both of you, and you're teenagers and they call it puppy love, there's a reason for that. You know what? It's the purest thing ever. You just want to be with the person just because they're them. And you don't, there's no baggage, right? So nothing else matters except when family gets involved, and you know how that can be, right? But you just want to be with a person because of who they are. But as we grow, we change. So other life issues begin to matter. And when those life issues begin to matter, they impact relationships. A lot of what happens in relationships are external factors. You're dating someone who probably didn't finish breaking up with someone else, or who is still connected to someone else, or who has children with someone else, who is married to someone else, whom somebody else knows about, and somebody else might want them. And then all kinds of crazy things start happening, right? Nicole, I'm going to take a screenshot. You have a new number, so I'm going to call you, okay? Because I keep saying there must have been a reason why I haven't heard from you. I'm going to take a screenshot of this so I can remember it, right? Because sometimes what happens is we don't, because I don't often see when these repeat. I don't often see the videos on Facebook when they repeat, so that's why. And sometimes we don't even know what happened. People are crazy out here, folks. Be careful who y'all falling in love with. Some of these people walking around telling you they love you, they don't love you. They're crazy. People need somewhere to stay. They just got out of jail and they need somewhere to stay. Come on now. Right? We don't think with common sense. It's like, do you guys you remember the story a few months ago? I think it was near Christmas, with this woman in Baltimore, where she was killed by a panhandler. She pulled up to give money to a panhandler, and it made us all change, because I was one of those persons who would not drive past a panhandler. Right? I used to keep singles in my car just for that reason. Right? I would always give a 5 or a couple of singles to someone, and after that happened, I stopped. I'm like, I don't want them to hurt me. Right? Well, it turns out that she wasn't killed by a panhandler. She was killed by her husband and his daughter. At the time of the incident, the husband and the daughter were in the car. So according to the police investigation, her brother, the woman's brother, the woman who died, her brother was the one who began pushing it. He felt like her husband was never real, was never really there. But the woman couldn't see that, because, he's in her face all day. Maybe when she even talked about, my brother feels, my brother says this and that, he's probably like, well, baby, I love you, and baby, you the one for me, and we got this great life together, and so on. How they do what they do, right? So what happens is that people sometimes don't know what to do, right? So ladies and gentlemen, it happens to men too. Guys, you got to be careful, There are people who walk into your lives and who fake stuff. It happens to both of us. It happens to men and women. So you have to start investigating people. When people want to be with you, give them time, y'all. Let time prove it. Let time prove it. Give them time to prove that what they say they feel is really true. Right? Because I can't begin to tell you how many times that people have said they love me. Hello. Remember, I was married to a man for 13 years and he beat me up? To the day we getting divorced on the steps of the courthouse in Orlando, in Seminole County, Florida, and Sanford, Florida. What did he say? I love you. But you beat me up and dragged me across the floor by my hair. How is that love? And then you're still saying you love me and we should get back together. And you wouldn't help me to support our child. You wrote a letter to immigration to tell them never to give me landed status. How is that love? Do you see what I mean? So love is supposed to be, if there is one thing in this life that is pure, it's love. Try having a baby again. You ever held a baby? Hold a baby. That's such pure love. You just want to love and take care of that. That's love. That's how love is supposed to feel. No, every day is not going to be a good day. Every day is not going to be you rolling in the glory clouds and everything is just hunky-dory, baby. No, that's not. That's not. Right? But you know what happens, Kiran? Baby, inbox me. Make sure you inbox me. Okay? Inbox me. Right? But do you see what I mean? Love does not hurt. I told him I loved him. And then I realized that I was, and he held me to the standard. He said, you love me? Watch. Then if you love me, you're not going to scream and yell. He held me accountable. So this is me. Oh, you love me? So and so and so and so. It's a different story. Right? Well, I guess we both have to go work this stuff out. Yeah. Right? Love does not hurt. So you can't love someone and hate them. Let's be clear. You have children, I have children. I love my children, right? As much as they do stuff that makes me angry, I don't hate them. Okay? I don't hate them. What I do is love them. Right? So even when I am so angry at what they have done, but I don't hate them, that's love. And that's, if you love someone like that, that's love. I can tell you that, right? No matter what they do, you don't hate them, right? And that is perhaps one of the most dangerous things for a male or female person to experience about someone else, because you can't control the person. Sometimes the reason people go back to cheating spouses is because they love the person and they understand that they're broken in some way. And they're helping them to deal with it. Now, eventually, they may part with them because it's not healthy emotionally to constantly be involved in stuff like that. But they're going to stick it out. So when you see it, and you see it, that person loves that person. But hate is a whole different thing. People can mask hate. Just like they fake love, they can hide their hate for you. They can smile in your face. You know the song, will you post this somewhere so we can watch it again? Yeah, it will be on youtube.com, Kiran, youtube.com/Harriet Kamek, right? So people can go back and watch it again. You're going to see all kinds of crazy things, right? But I will, thank you. I will, right? Because what happens is people sometimes forget. We all do. We're human. And I can't help but say that because I'm human too. We've all experienced it. And we've all kind of just let stuff happen to us. You know, sometimes you love someone and you tell yourself that you love him so much, he just walks all over you. No, that may be your low self-esteem talking. There is a difference, because love gives you strength and love will give you clarity. Love is not foggy. I can't see because I'm so in love. No, that's not love. Love gives you clarity. Love lets you know exactly why you are there with that person. And then you find, oh my God, I can't do anything about this. Do you see what I mean? So when people say, oh, I love him, but I can't do anything. But when you find that, when it gets to the point where you are disliking the person, you can, if you give yourself enough time, it will come back to love, because there are times when you dislike what your partner does, but it's the action that you dislike. It's not the person. There is a difference. You will dislike the action. Sometimes the persons we love do things that we don't like, or they do things that was expedient for them, but was not expedient for you and for your relationship. And and it's questionable. It's part of life, right? It's a part of life. It is what it is. And sometimes they act that way because they either don't know any different, or to them it was the best decision to make, and they're thinking they can make it up back to you. I can make it up to her. She loves me, she understands. He loves me, he understands. But you have to draw the line somewhere for yourself. If you find that you love someone, you have to say, well, here's the thing. There are some things that make me really uncomfortable. And you have to say, what really makes you uncomfortable? It's like for me, cheating was an issue, right? And I had to go figure out, well, why does it bother you? What is it about cheating that is so bothersome? And you see, the minute I started to pull it down, I understood my reaction to it better. Therefore, I could control it, because there's some things as women we have to accept. Women who engage with men, we have to accept some things. A man is going to do what? Say it out. A man is going to cheat, is going to cheat. And so there are some things that you have to say, well, why would it bother me? Why does it bother me? Why doesn't it bother me? Why does that action bother me? Why this one doesn't bother me? Ask yourself the question. This is why I say you are your best work. Do your own work. And then when you do your own work, stuff will come out better, right? Do your own work on you, because I'm just telling you my story. I had to go find out why cheating bothered me. The minute I started tearing it down, well, I don't have that reaction the way I do. It's still betrayal, but I'm not going to lose myself over it. Do you see what I'm saying? So every action that your partner whom you love performs, ask yourself, why does this bother me? What is it about this? Because sometimes it's not necessarily what the person does. It's what it reminds you of. It's the action it reminds you of. It's a trigger. It triggers something. Well, when it starts trigger, pay attention to the triggers, right? Examine the triggers, because the triggers have truth in them, right? The triggers are going to help you discover why this action bothers you. What is it about this that you need to pay attention to? And then you go and turn it off. Deal with it. Deal with the issues, right? We got to deal with it. So there is no such thing really as you love and hate the same person. No. You're looking at this lump of flesh and saying to yourself, what do I love about this lump of flesh? Well, you've just had your come to Jesus moment. That's your moment of truth. You're looking at this person with all the flaws, with all the stuff they've done to you. This is love? Can't be. You've come to your moment of truth. And when you get to that point, be honest with it. Don't stay with someone who hurts you because you don't want to be alone, or you are afraid of what the society will say, or the community will say. Maybe your friends will say you can't keep a woman, or you can't keep a man, or your friends will say you're alone again, or they will say something must be wrong with you why you can't be with anybody. No, friends, when it comes right down to it, I tell you this all the time. It's only one of us. It's only you going to lay down in the pine box. Your whole family and friends, they're not coming with you. So you have to make up in your mind that you are going to deal with what makes you happy, what serves your best purpose. And especially as we come to this stage of life, people are dropping like flies. Friends, it makes no sense to waste time with stuff and with people who are going to make your lives miserable. If they're making your lives miserable all day long, forget that. Right? Because everybody has to have some sort of fulfillment. I am a firm believer that if you are doing what fulfills you, you're not going to look outside of you for fulfillment. There are some people for whom they don't do anything that is fulfilling, so their partner is their fulfillment. And that's putting a lot of pressure on another person. As a partner, the partner is required to fulfill your emotional and sexual needs as a partner. If you are in a committed relationship, there are other requirements such as financial provision, other stuff, taking care of family and so on, right? Business and so on. But their primary responsibility is to fulfill your emotional and sexual needs as a partner. Your partner is not expected to make you happy. That's not his job. That's your job. And why is it your job? And you say, well, their actions don't make me happy. Well, again, examine the action. Why does it bother you? And in that act, in examining it, there is that truth that is going to tell you why it bothers you. It's a storm. It passes. Okay? I hope I helped you. Right? I just thought that this was a thought, and I felt like I needed to expound on it and to tell you so that it will help you as you go through. Because sometimes we stay with people thinking we love them, but we really don't. You might feel a deep sense of connection. You might feel a deep sense of caring, but that's not love. Well, what is important to you? Is love important to you, or is it just feeling a deep sense of connection? Which one is it? Because once you establish what is important, then you'll be guided by that and you'll be able to make a decision. Is this somewhere that I should be or want to be? And that, my friends, is the story. You can't love and hate the same person. It's one or the other. Either you love them or you hate them. You might not like their actions. You might hate their actions. But you can't love and hate the same person. They don't work together. Right? Not love in its pure form. They say that the only pure form of love exists from God for us, agape love, the love that God has for us. They say that that's the purest love. And I agree with that because that love is unconditional. It's given freely, which means that you can tap into it, and it's unconditional. It's not dependent on how we act. But let's just be real. We're humans. And our love is sometimes conditional. I love you because you don't hurt me. I love you because you don't cheat on me. I love you because you provide for me. Right? Do you see what I mean? I love you because you are here for me. That's conditional love. What about when the person is not there? Some of us love our partners while we are seeing them. That means we don't trust them. So when we don't see them, we don't trust them. So we don't love them at that point. It's a cycle. We have to get over that and get through that. We have to work through those things. Again, do your own self-examination. I do. Figure out what's important to you and keep it moving in that direction. Right? I only have a few more minutes. I gotta go. Right? But this is the most important thing about everything else we've talked about today. It's you. Do you realize that? It's you. It's you because how you feel about yourself has a tremendous impact on the people you say you love. How do you feel about yourself? Do you feel like loving is selfless, so you give of yourself and you just continue to give? You're going to be broken one day and you're going to be empty, because part of loving is receiving. You have to receive love. I love my children, but you know something they taught me without them even being aware of it? When they love me back, sometimes they do, right? When they love me back, I have to be receptive to it. It's the same thing with him. I have to be receptive to how he's loved. And ladies, some men love different. Men are different. They're individuals, right? So what may have worked for one guy with you, that's not how this guy is. So you have to know. So you can't judge this one by that one, right? Because how he deals with the relationship is different from how someone else will deal with it. And you're going to run around saying, but he doesn't love me. He probably does. He just does it different. Part of the process is getting to know him and to love him, right? Getting to know someone. We need to spend time getting to know people. This is why I say take the gloves off. We're so full of face today. Everything is at face value, right? We meet people and we judge them based on who they are, what they appear to be, and a lot of our relationships are fictitious. Just see someone, when I first met him, he used to, about what, 3 years ago now, we used to date. It would just be always a sudden thing. He said, why? Because it wasn't about the element of surprise. He didn't want me to prepare. I guess what he was trying to say, he wanted to see if I looked the same without makeup. Boy, did he get a surprise. I look the same. So he was like, okay. Because he said some people, they take their makeup off and they're a whole different other person. Some people take their clothes off and you're like, whoa, what went on here? I kid you not. Men have the most interesting things to say about the women they have had in their lives, right? And so, but I get what he was trying to do. He wanted to get to know the person. He wanted to get to the person. He didn't want the public profile. He didn't want the public image. He didn't want the public person. He wanted to know the person. Get to know one another. So many of our relationships are based on what I do for you. Some of you don't even realize that. You're in a relationship with someone. You call it an intimate relationship and a love relationship, but you're in a relationship with someone because of what they can do for you. Wow. If that just blew you away, I'm sorry, right? Love and hate. We're going to talk some more about this on Monday. So make sure that you stay tuned. Come back with some of your questions on Monday. For more information about us, go to harrietkamak.com, as well as go to the exodusfoundation.com. We are a 501c3 organization that provides services to victims of human sex trafficking. So go and make a donation. Right on the homepage, it says contribute. Make sure you make a donation. We accept all kinds of credit cards. It doesn't matter what you have, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, JCB, PCB, BND, whatever. We accept all of your credit card payments. Thank you so much for joining. It is Friday. Enjoy your Friday. Have a good weekend, everybody. Be blessed. The best is yet to come, right, Facebook? The best is yet to come. Thank you so much for being a part of our experience today. My camera is still on. There we go. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, I am having issues today with all of my... Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed.